Welcome to an exploration of a pivotal moment in contemporary history, the invasion of Iraq in 2003. This event marked a significant shift in international relations and global politics, as nations grappled with the aftermath of a decision that rippled across borders. The invasion not only reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, but also left an indelible mark on the world stage. Its reverberations were felt far beyond the confines of Iraq, influencing policy decisions, sparking debates, and stirring a whirlwind of controversy that continues to this day. This is not just a story of military strategy and political maneuvering. It's a tale of human struggle, resilience, and the quest for power. It's a saga that weaves together the threads of history, politics, and human emotions, offering us a lens through which to view the complex tapestry of our world. So buckle up as we journey through the events leading up to, during, and after the invasion. To fully understand the invasion, we first need to delve into the historical background. The decision to invade Iraq was not an isolated event, but rather a culmination of many interwoven geopolitical and regional factors. At the heart of these factors was oil, the lifeblood of the global economy. Iraq, with its vast reserves, was a pivotal player in the world's energy market. The country's control over such a critical resource, coupled with Saddam Hussein's unpredictable nature, created an uneasy tension on the international stage. Next, we cannot overlook the specter of terrorism that loomed large over the early 21st century. The horrific events of September 11, 2001, had profoundly shaken the United States, leading to a heightened focus on security and a readiness to confront perceived threats head-on. In this climate of fear and uncertainty, Iraq, under the rule of Saddam Hussein, was painted as a dangerous rogue state, allegedly harboring weapons of mass destruction and harboring ties to al-Qaeda. This narrative, although later discredited, was a key driving force behind the decision to invade. Finally, we must consider the regional instability in the Middle East. The region was, and remains, a complex web of rivalries, alliances, and conflicts. Iraq's position within this volatile mix had long been a concern for the international community. The country's fraught relations with its neighbors, its history of aggression, and its persecution of its own people all contributed to the perception of Iraq as a destabilizing force. The United States and its allies, under the banner of promoting peace and democracy, saw an opportunity to reshape the Middle East, with the removal of Saddam Hussein as the first step. This, they believed, would pave the way for a more stable and cooperative regional order. With this backdrop, the stage was set for one of the most controversial military actions in recent history. One question that often arises is what exactly led to the US-led invasion of Iraq? The road to the invasion was paved with a complex interplay of factors, some of which dated back decades. At the heart of the U.S. rationale was the belief that Iraq, under the rule of Saddam Hussein, possessed weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs. These fears were not entirely unfounded. After all, Hussein had previously used chemical weapons during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. In the aftermath of September 11, 2001, these concerns intensified. The Bush administration argued that Iraq posed an imminent threat and could potentially supply these weapons to terrorist groups. However, the intelligence reports that underpinned these claims were later found to be flawed, adding a layer of controversy to the decision to invade. Another key factor was the desire for regime change. Saddam Hussein's dictatorship was infamous for its human rights abuses and defiance of international norms. The U.S. and its allies saw an opportunity to remove Hussein from power and to instate a democratic government, hoping it would serve as a beacon of democracy in the Middle East. The international reaction to the proposed invasion was mixed. While countries like the UK, Australia, and Poland joined the US in forming the Coalition of the Willing, others, including France, Germany, and Russia, vocally opposed the invasion. They argued for more time for UN weapons inspectors to complete their work in Iraq and for diplomatic solutions to be pursued. The United Nations itself was caught in a bind. While it had passed resolutions demanding Iraq's disarmament and cooperation with weapons inspectors, it did not explicitly authorize the use of force. This lack of UN endorsement was another point of contention and further complicated the international response to the invasion. As we can see, the reasons were multifaceted, and the international response was far from unanimous. The invasion of Iraq was a complex event, shaped by a web of geopolitical considerations, strategic goals, and contested intelligence. It's a stark reminder of the intricate and often opaque nature of global politics. Another common query is, was there a connection between Saddam Hussein and the 9/11 attacks? This question has been the crux of many debates, discussions, and conspiracy theories. Let's delve into this complex issue. In the aftermath of the tragic September 11th attacks, a narrative began to circulate, linking Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein to the heinous act of terror. The reason? There were allegations that Saddam had provided refuge and support to al-Qaeda, the terrorist group responsible for the attacks. But here's where it gets murky. The 9/11 Commission report, the authoritative account of the events leading up to the attacks, found no credible evidence of a collaborative relationship between Saddam Hussein and al-Qaeda. Yes, there were contacts between the two parties, but they did not appear to have resulted in a cooperative relationship. In other words, while Saddam Hussein may have been a brutal dictator, there's no concrete proof that he was involved in the attacks that shook the world on that fateful September morning. However, despite the lack of evidence, the alleged connection between Saddam and 9/11 was a major factor in swaying public opinion in favor of invading Iraq. So powerful was this narrative that a 2003 poll found 6 out of 10 Americans believed Saddam Hussein was personally involved in the attacks. This belief, whether founded or unfounded, played a significant role in shaping the course of history. It led to a shift in public sentiment, contributing to the justification for a war that would have far-reaching consequences, not just for Iraq, but for the entire world. So, what's the takeaway here? It's crucial to separate facts from conjecture, especially when dealing with matters of such grave importance. Misinformation can have profound implications, altering the course of history and impacting millions of lives. Despite widespread belief, the connection between Saddam and 9/11 is far from clear-cut. It's a reminder that, in our quest for answers, we must always strive for truth, even when it's complex or inconvenient. Now, let's delve into the details of the invasion itself. The invasion of Iraq, dubbed Operation Iraqi Freedom by the United States, kicked off on March 20th, 2003. The opening salvo, known as the Shock and Awe campaign, was designed to quickly and decisively dismantle the Iraqi military and government. This strategy relied on rapid, high-intensity strikes against military and strategic targets, aiming to cripple the enemy's ability to fight back while minimizing civilian casualties. In the early hours of March 20th, U.S. forces launched an airstrike targeting Saddam Hussein himself, an attempt to decapitate the Iraqi government. While the strike did not succeed in killing Hussein, it marked the beginning of the invasion and the Shock and Awe campaign. The U.S.-led coalition quickly advanced across Iraq. To the east, British forces focused on securing the oil-rich city of Basra, while U.S. forces in the west made a beeline for the capital, Baghdad. American troops encountered sporadic resistance, but the speed and strength of the coalition's advance overwhelmed the Iraqi forces. By April 9th, just 3 weeks into the invasion, U.S. forces were in the heart of Baghdad. Images of the statue of Saddam Hussein in Firdos Square being toppled by U.S. Marines became a symbol of the initial success of the invasion. However, this rapid victory was not without controversy. The invasion was conducted without explicit United Nations approval, leading to widespread international criticism. The lack of a clear plan for post-invasion governance and the decision to disband the Iraqi army were particularly contentious, and would have significant implications for the years of conflict to come. In hindsight, the initial stages of the invasion were deceptively smooth. The swift toppling of Hussein's regime gave way to a power vacuum, and the subsequent occupation and reconstruction efforts proved far more challenging than the initial military campaign. This initial phase of the invasion marked the beginning of a long and complex conflict. The invasion had profound and far-reaching consequences. The immediate aftermath of the invasion saw a dramatic shift in the governance of Iraq. Saddam Hussein's authoritarian regime was toppled, leading to a power vacuum that was filled by a provisional government backed by the United States. However, the transition was far from smooth, and the early years were marked by a lack of stability and intense sectarian tensions. The invasion also had a significant impact on the security situation in Iraq. The dismantling of the Iraqi army and the de-Ba'athification policy led to a rise in insurgency and the emergence of new extremist groups. The most notable of these was the Islamic State, which exploited the chaos to establish a foothold in the country and later in the wider region. Moreover, the invasion led to a profound shift in the geopolitical dynamics of the Middle East. Iraq, once a counterbalance to Iran in the region, was now in disarray, allowing Iran to exert greater influence. This shift upset the delicate balance of power and contributed to a new wave of sectarian conflict that spilled over Iraq's borders and into the wider Middle East. The invasion also had a lasting impact on global politics. It strained relationships between the United States and its traditional allies and undermined the credibility of international institutions like the United Nations. It also stoked anti-Western sentiment, providing fodder for extremist propaganda and recruitment. The human cost of the invasion was immense. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis were killed, millions were displaced, and the country's infrastructure was severely damaged. The social fabric of the country was torn apart with deep sectarian divisions and a loss of trust in institutions. On a broader scale, the invasion led to a re-evaluation of interventionist policies and the use of military force to achieve political ends. It sparked a debate about the limits of power, the responsibility of nations, and the rules of international engagement. The aftermath of the invasion continues to shape the geopolitical landscape to this day. The echoes of the invasion can still be heard in the ongoing conflicts and tensions in the Middle East, and its lessons continue to inform the decisions of policymakers around the world. One outcome of the invasion was the fall of Saddam Hussein. The capture of Iraq's notorious leader was a significant event in the Iraq War. Saddam Hussein, the man who had ruled Iraq with an iron fist since 1979, was found in a small, concealed hole near his hometown of Tikrit on December 13, 2003. The operation, fittingly named Red Dawn, was a major victory for the US-led coalition forces. Hussein's capture was more than just a military achievement. It was a symbolic event that represented the end of an era in Iraq. However, it also marked the beginning of a controversial chapter in the country's history. Hussein was handed over to the newly formed Iraqi interim government in June 2004. His trial began in October the following year, and it was a spectacle that was broadcast to millions around the world. The charges against him were grave, including crimes against humanity, genocide, and war crimes. The trial was marred with numerous challenges and controversies. Critics argued that it lacked the fairness and impartiality of a truly international tribunal. However, after a year-long tumultuous trial, Saddam Hussein was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. His execution took place on December 30, 2006, an event that was met with mixed reactions both in Iraq and across the globe. For some, Hussein's execution was a cause for celebration, a sign that a new democratic Iraq was emerging from the shadow of a brutal dictator. For others, it was a grim reminder of the deep sectarian divides that the war had exacerbated. The fate of Saddam Hussein marked a significant, albeit controversial, milestone in the Iraq War. His capture and execution symbolized the end of an era, but also foreshadowed the deep divisions and challenges that Iraq would face in the years following the invasion. It is a chapter of history that continues to stir debate, reminding us of the complexities and consequences of war. Finally, we must consider the long-lasting legacy of the Iraq War. The impact of this conflict has reverberated far beyond the borders of Iraq, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East and influencing global politics in ways that are still unfolding. In Iraq, the ousting of Saddam Hussein's regime led to a power vacuum. igniting sectarian tensions that had been suppressed under his rule. The resulting instability, coupled with the dismantling of Iraq's military and bureaucratic institutions, created fertile ground for the rise of extremist groups, most notably ISIS. Today, despite the defeat of this group's territorial caliphate, the struggle for stability and unity within Iraq continues, a testament to the lasting effects of the invasion. On a regional level, the war altered the balance of power in the Middle East. Iran, a longtime adversary of Saddam Hussein's Iraq, found its influence growing in the wake of the invasion. The conflict also strained relationships between the US and its allies, and sparked a broader debate about the use of military intervention for regime change. The Iraq War has also left an indelible mark on global politics. It has influenced how the international community perceives and responds to threats of weapons of mass destruction. It has reshaped attitudes towards military intervention and regime change, and it has forced a reevaluation of the costs and consequences of war, both in human lives and in resources. From this, we can glean important lessons. The war underscores the importance of solid intelligence before making decisions of such magnitude. It reminds us of the unpredictability of war and the far-reaching consequences that can stem from well-intentioned but poorly executed policies. The legacy of the Iraq War is complex and continues to evolve, reminding us of the importance of understanding this pivotal event in global history. As we conclude our exploration, let's revisit the key points we've discussed. We've delved into the complex factors that led to the US-led invasion of Iraq, debunking misconceptions and shedding light on the geopolitical and regional dynamics at play. We've investigated the controversial claims of a connection between Saddam Hussein and the 9/11 attacks, and charted the unfolding of the invasion itself, with its shock and awe tactics. We've also confronted the immediate and long-term consequences of this pivotal moment in history, from the societal and political impacts on Iraq to the wider repercussions on global politics. The capture, trial, and execution of Saddam Hussein were key events we scrutinized, alongside the experiences of US and coalition forces. Finally, we reflected on the enduring legacy of the Iraq War, a testament to the importance of understanding history's complexities. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, history is in the making every single day.